Share my screen, Vinay, please. Thank you so much. And can you make it full screen? Thank you. Okay, then good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Manish, Vignesh, Prajwal, Praveen, Rohit, Shailendra. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Good evening, and I welcome you all to this day 4 of JavaScript Essential. And so, first of all, sorry for yesterday that we didn't took any lecture because I was not well yesterday. Now I'm good. Okay, so thank you so much for understanding that, guys. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Naveen, Praveen, Abhishek. And again, welcome back to day 4 of JS Essentials. So, I hope you guys remember that last time we actually talked about arrays, we talked about objects, we also understood what exactly is array of objects, and we also talked about loops. So, we also saw how they work, right, everyone? So, guys, I hope, yeah, I'm not now, now I'm completely feeling good. So, I was having some health related issues yesterday, some breathing issues actually. So now I'm all good. Okay. So yep. Okay then, guys. So now, as the topic says, today we are going to be starting with something called as DOM manipulation basics. So this is what we are going to be doing today, right, everyone? So now I hope you guys remember that in the start only we talked about something called as DOM, right? Can anyone tell me what exactly is DOM, guys? Till the time I prepare my files, can you tell me what exactly was DOM? Exactly. No, it's not module, it's model. Document object model, right? And I also explained what exactly is DOM. But don't worry. We'll again talk about that today. I'll give you a little explanation of what is DOM for all the new people. Okay. And make sure, guys, that you register for the course and you also go on that one link and register for the course and fill up your attendance. That's very, very important. Okay. We can change HTML and CSS using JS document object module. Guys, first thing, it's not module, it's model. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, now then, if you guys remember, we talked about this. Let me just open my Jamboard real quick. So if you remember the first session, we talked about what exactly is DOM. So this was what, okay, I think I have deleted it. So let me clear the frame. So what was it, guys? The tree structure of your HTML document is what you call as DOM. So when you write your HTML code, like for example, when you write something like this, okay, when you write something like this, and when you execute it on the browser converts your HTML code into a tree structure, right? Which actually looks like this. For example, let's say we have HTML on top, then inside HTML, we have what? We have head, and inside HTML, we also have something called as body. Now in head, I have title, and in my body, I can have a lot of things. I can have a p tag, I can have a div tag, I can have an image element, I can have a lot of things, right? And inside div, I can again go ahead and have a different p, right, everyone? That's how these things work. So basically, when you execute your HTML code on the browser converts your code into a tree. And this is how that tree looks like, but not exactly. This is not exactly how it looks like, guys, but we know right now and we understand. Internally, browser creates a tree, and then that tree, basically the browser reads that tree and generates the output for you. Now one very, and this is what you call as DOM, right? But one very important thing is this whole thing. Now you're, when you write, they are tags, but when they are on the browser, those things become element or objects. So while writing, you write div as a tag, you write p as a tag, you write img as a tag, but when they are on the browser, everything becomes an element or an object. Never forget that. Now all of them, this HTML, this body, this head, this title, this p, they can all be called as elements or objects, and they are all inside one superior object called as, this whole thing is placed in a superior object called as document, which is basically a JS based object. So this is the object that we are going to be using to access all these elements. So now we understand, guys, right? What is DOM? This is also what we talked about on the first day. I hope you guys remember. This is just a revision. That's why I'm doing it quickly so that I just give you a head start. So this is DOM, correct? And all of this tree structure is stored inside this document object. Now, today we're going to be talking about DOM manipulation. How to manipulate this tree, right? So when I manipulate this tree, that's where the magic happens. That's when I can see my output changing. So I can dynamically remove elements, I can dynamically add elements, I can dynamically change elements, I can change their CSS, I can change their content by using what? By using JS. That's why JS is also called as what? A DOM manipulation language. This was again something that we discussed on the first day, right? That JS can do this. JS can manipulate this document object model or this tree completely. So that's what our topic is today, guys. We'll see how to use JS to manipulate this tree and hence manipulating our output. Okay. Yes, Utpal, I'm perfectly fine today. And yes, one more thing. How was your interview? I think your interview was there, right? You were mentioning it in the last or last to last session. So how was it? Was it good? So guys, this is what we're going to be doing today. This is something that we discussed on the first day. I hope now you know what exactly is it. Now, before we start, there are a few important rules, okay, that we have to understand. Okay, that we really have to understand. That is, now I know this tree is getting created internally. We can only see code. We cannot see this tree properly, right? So it's this tree is created internally. But as I said, we can use JavaScript to manipulate this tree. That means I can work on any element, I can remove it, I can add something, I can change it, I can do whatever I want on that element. That's what manipulation is. But whenever you want to perform manipulation, the first and the most important rule is you have to know how to access that element, because that element is in this tree. You have document inside that HTML, head, body, and a lot of things. So everything is in a tree structure. So if I want to manipulate any element using my JS, first thing I need to learn is how to access that element. That's the first rule of DOM manipulation. You should know how to access or how to select a particular element, because if you can't select or can't access the element, you cannot manipulate it. So let's go and let's start, guys. Okay, I told you the first rule, and now we are good to go. So again, same stuff. But today, guys, we are focusing more on DOM manipulation. That's why we'll create some elements here. So let's go and let's create some dummy elements. So let's say I create a P, okay, or rejected 3 times in 3 days. Okay, okay, no issues, no issues. Just let me know more about it if you can by some ways. You can also connect to us. We'll see. Okay, that's great, Utpal. That's great. That's a really good uh, thing that you have. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, it's done. It's done. It's all cool. Okay, you just have to now improve from here. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and let's create few elements. So let me create few h1s here. So let's say one hello, and I have one more h1. Let's say let's upgrade, and then have one more h1, and let's put anything like, what do you say, Thor. Again, I can never forget. So Thor. Okay. So now, guys, let's run this page quickly. Copy the path, paste it in your browser, and here we go. We have 3 elements, and let's also open our console in the side for some help. Okay. So now, guys, you can see the output, everyone. So now let's see how to access an element. So let's say I decide that I want to manipulate this element. So as I said, guys, the first rule is you should know how to access the element. Now understand that we talked about this object, that the whole tree is stored in an object called as document. The whole tree is stored in an object called as document. So let's see what exactly this object looks like. Just like, guys, we had a console object, right? We had a console object that helps you to work with the console. Just like that, you have a document object which helps you to work with the whole tree. Okay, here it looks like a code, but we know that internally it's a tree. So first of all, let me just go ahead and let me just print the document object for you. Console.log. document. Let's see, everyone. Let's see. Here we go. When I print the document, see if I just go on that, the whole page is getting selected. That means it's kind of correct. That's holding the document. And if you open it, see, the whole tree is here. This is your tree. See that, guys? This is your complete tree that you have here. But I want to access a specific element and work on it. So let's say by writing document, I get the whole tree. But inside that whole tree, I want to access this first H1 or this second H1 or this third H1. How can I do it? That's what manipulation is. So let's see how to access a specific element if you want to manipulate it. Now, guys, there are many ways. Okay, so let's start with one or two ways here. Hello, Kalpesh. How are you, buddy? Okay, so let's start, guys. So now this document object also gives you few functions that you can use to access a element. And the first function that I'm showing you today is document dot query selector. The first function, query selector. And in here, you can mention the element that you want to select. You can see, right? All the options are coming, the tag names. You can mention, let's say H1, and that's it. Now see, guys, if I just write document dot query selector H1, see, it gives me the first H1. Right? Simple, very simple. Document.query selector and mention the tag name that you want to select, and it gives you the first H1. Now your question might be, sir, I have three H1s. So how did it decide that which H1 to select? So remember, guys, query selector, if there are multiple options, will always select the first one. Query selector, if there are multiple options, it will always select the first one. What is event listener? Don't worry, Teja. We're going to be discussing that today as well. So understand that, guys. But what if I want to access the second one or third one? So this is not the method for you. You can use query selector only when you are defined that, okay, I want to select this element and that should be the first one. So query selector will not help a lot if you're working with tag name. Okay, so we need something more better. So now just like in CSS, guys, in CSS, we can also give ID and class, right, to elements so that we can uniquely identify them. You can also do that here. For example, I can give this a class, or let's say the second one. I can give this a class of, let's say I call it 2. Now here, instead of mentioning tag name, I can mention dot 2. That is, now select the element who has a class of 2. And now you'll see it gets to that element. Perfect. But understand, guys, query selector will always select only the first element. Now in this case, if in case we have two elements with the same class, so in that case, it will become problematic. See, it again selects only the first one. Second one is ignored. So that's the case with query selector. So query selector will always select only one element. That means if you're using it, you have to be very specific about your classes and IDs. So is there a better approach? Like otherwise, I have to give IDs and classes everywhere. So do we have a better approach? Okay, do we have a better approach? So how do I reset my inspect page? I messed up with some settings and I can't see console section. You did what? So you have to go in settings and find out. I think you have hidden it maybe. So yes. Okay. So guys, what is the next option then? So guys, the next option that you have is something called as query selector all. Okay. And this is what can help you select elements. First of all, let's see what does it give. So now in this case, if I mention H1, see what it gives everyone. Don't worry, Vinay, I'm okay. Okay, guys, is are we going very fast? Please tell me, everyone. No issues, Vinod. I'll try to make it like a little more slower. Don't worry. Okay. Yes, Vinod, please don't spam the chat, buddy. We'll do it. Definitely. I'll try my best. Don't worry. Okay. So guys, very simple. Document.query selector all and then mention H1. Now let's see what is the difference between document.query selector and document.query selector all. Let's see that, everyone. Save it and see now. Now you get, okay. Yep. Now you get something called as a node list, which you can normally compare with something called as an array. Can you see that, everyone? And guys, for all the people who are joining it today for the first time, I would suggest you to watch all the previous lectures as well. because to understand what we are learning today, you also have to understand what we learned last time. We have discussed arrays and all that. So now guys, can you see what we are getting here? Let me remove the class names so that it becomes a little more clearer. Can you see that, everyone? Now we get an array of h1s. So now all the h1s are here. So that's what query selector all does. It helps you to select multiple elements based on a selector. So that's the difference, guys. And we are going to be using this in this whole DOM manipulation basics. Now, guys, again, there are multiple methods. We have get element by ID, get element by class name, a lot of things. But you know that we cannot cover everything. That's why we'll be focusing on this. Okay, and we'll be using query selector and query selector all for everything. And yes, it can definitely help. So difference, guys, again, revision. Query selector will only select the first element of whatever you're mentioning, class, ID, or tag name. And query selector all will select all the elements of whatever selector you mention in here. So right now I have 3 h1s. So you can see it is giving me an array of h1s. Now guys, it is array. So now you tell me, what do I have to do if I have to access the second element? Everyone, come on. What do I have to do if I want to access the second h1? Guys, please tell me. We have learned array. Come on, tell me, guys. Which selector is used most? Please, if you can point out. I think in JS for specific elements, we mostly go for IDs. So mostly I think IDs and classes are mentioned. Exactly. The index number 1. Correct? That's what we have learned, guys, because it's giving you something like an array. It's a node list, but guys, for now we can consider it like an array. That means this whole thing is giving me an array. So I can just go forward and mention a index number 1 in front of it. And that's it. It will give me the h1 element I want. And now I can work like this. Correct, everyone? So I can access any element like this. See that? Number 2. Or let's try number 3. Do we have anything on that? We should get undefined. Guys, now our array logic is helping us properly. Okay, so whenever you perform DOM manipulation, focus that you should be able to access the exact element that you want to work with. So now never forget the difference between document.querySelector and document.querySelector all. And you can use any selector, guys, ID, class name, whatever you want. But it depends on what you're doing. So let's do it again. So if I do console.log, now if I want, I can also mention ID. So document.querySelector, and see, I can also go here and mention ID, like ID, let's call it soup. So I can also mention ID, and if it's ID, you have to go for hash, like in CSS. So guys, it's a query selector. So no matter how many number of elements you have for this selector, it will only select first. So in this case, this is the only element, so it will only select that. Why do we use console? Suggest you to watch the first session of this particular 5-day course. You'll understand why do we use console. For all the new people joining first day, I would definitely suggest you to watch all the 3 sessions that we have taken for this particular session, okay, for this particular course. So see that, guys, now I can directly that element. So you can use query selector to select multiple elements, to select single elements. It's just you have to properly focus on how or what selector to use, right? Exactly. Query selector, first element of whatever you mention, query selector all will select everything for your selector. And then you can use index to specify which element do you want. Is it cleared, guys? Everyone, are we cleared with both of them? Query selector and query selector all, please tell me. Guys, can you guys how to remove h1 tag? I'll show you, don't worry, how to remove it. So you can select via tag name or via class name or via ID. No matter whatever you want, you can use from any of these 3. Okay, and query selector will always give you the first element depending on how you're selecting it, and query selector all will give you all the elements of that particular selector. Okay, and then you can simply access anything from the index. What is the use? Don't worry, Abdul, we'll just see in just 2 minutes. It returns null. See the spelling, Vigneshwara, just check the spelling once, because it should never return null. until unless you don't have any elements. Okay, is that clear, guys? And for classes, just like you do in CSS, dot, and for IDs, you have to mention hash. It's again this basic CSS knowledge. And for also all the people who don't know HTML CSS, please watch my HTML and CSS essentials that I just took a week ago. So you can also watch that. You can understand all the basics of HTML and CSS. So guys, that is what query selector and query selector all is. Okay, so again, what was the first rule? Target the element that you want to work with. The first and the most important rule. Once you understand this, DOM manipulation will never be tough for you. Difference between query and query selector all. Okay, I'll just do it one more time, guys. Focus, please. Everyone, please focus. Let me do it for you again. Okay, see, I do query selector H1. Okay, save it. You only get hello. I mentioned document. From the document, select the element based on the tag name H1. I have 3 elements with the tag name H1, but it's only giving me first. That's what query selector does. No matter what kind of selector you mention here, okay, and even if you have multiple elements for it, doesn't matter. It will always select the first one. So as I mentioned, even if I have class names, let's say I select elements using class name, class 2, class 2. Now I have 2 elements. See guys, I have 2 elements with the class of 2. So if I mention dot 2 here, see now, it again only gives me the first element. It never gives you all of them or second or third, always the first. Okay. In this case of query selector all, it selects everyone that matches the selector. So now I have 3 H1s. So it will give me all the H1s in a form of array. See that, guys? So first one, second one, third one. And I can use indexing just like we learned in the last session to access anything I want. So right now I mentioned H1. Now let's say, okay, query selector, I want you to select the elements based on class name. So I'll mention the class name. Please select elements based on the class name. Here we go. Now it gives me 2 elements because there are only 2 elements with the class name of 2. Okay. And even if I mention ID, now see, what if I mention ID? Hash, so still gives me array. Even if there is one element, it still gives me an array. So query selector all will always give you an array, but you can use it to select multiple elements. And query selector is only used to select one element. Why do we use dot and hash? Arul dot is used for class and hash is used for ID. Because when you write a normal name, that is considered as tag name. So if you want to select any element via class name, you have to use dot. If you want to select any element via ID, you have to use hash. And for you, I would suggest you to watch the HTML and CSS essential once so that you understand what is class and what is ID. Okay, I would suggest you to watch that HTML and CSS. So are we cleared, everyone? Query selector and query selector all? Okay, now. So first thing is target the element. After targeting, now we are kings. We can do whatever we want now. For my revision, query selector all is equal to exactly Naveen, exactly. So now guys, the first rule is done. Target the element. Once you got the exact element that you want to work with, then after that, you can do whatever you want. You can change the content of that element. You can change the CSS of that element. You can even change the attribute of that element. It's totally up to us now. For example, let's do it. So guys, come on, help me. I want to target only the first element. What can I write? Let me remove all these classes and IDs. I guys only want this first H1. What should we do, everyone? I only want this first H1. What should you do? I can simply write document.query selector H1, correct? Or if I do query selector 0, sorry, query selector all, then I can mention 0, correct? So let's use all. Or for now, let's not use all. Let's give it an ID. Much more better. Because that is one way I actually work. So let's give it an ID actually. That is very helpful. I can also remember my elements. So let's give it an ID of 1. And now let's select it based on ID because I'm never going to give this ID to anyone else. So I can actually uniquely identify the element. So let's give it an ID and select it based on ID. So let's go. Document dot query selector and mention the ID hash 1. So select the element with the ID of 1 and it will select this one for me. Fine. You can also go for with query selector all. That's also fine. Totally perfect. But let's do it with this way. Let's see, are we getting it? Console.log. Are we getting it? Yep, we got the element. So we targeted the element. Okay. Now I want to extract the text out of it. I want to see what textual content it is holding. So guys, once you have got the element, to see what is the textual content inside that element, for that, after selecting the element, after getting the element, dot has a property called as inner text. And this will simply give you whatever text that element is holding. Let's see, are we getting it? And here we go. It gives you hello. Simple, guys. So get the element dot inner text. So simple. Cool. That's what you do. Not HTML text. No, 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 don't mix them. Inner HTML is different, inner text is different. There's nothing like HTML text, I think. I've never used it. Okay. So, guys, that's how you can do it. And what if I don't want to get it? Let's say I want to change it. So, for that, guys, really simple. Let's say I'm not printing it now. Just write this one because, see, guys, this thing gives you the text. If you want to change it, equal to something. So, let's say, let's write new text. Let me show you. Guys, focus, everyone. You can see new text. You can see when I created the tag, I wrote hello in there. But based on JavaScript, that hello is getting changed to new text. And you can see here, now we don't have hello, we have new text. What is the difference between inner text and value? Inner text is the textual content inside the tag. Value is like for input fields, right? Because input has value, that's not inner text. So value depends on what kind of element you're using. So value is for inputs, value is for selections. And inner text generally gives you the textual content that you put in between the tags, the general normal text. Is it cleared, Hemant? So that's the difference. So guys, are we cleared? That's how you can simply do it. So you can get the content, what is inside, by just writing this much. And if you want to change it, write this much and equal to the new content. And that's it. New text. But right now there's a problem, guys. I want to teach you one more thing before we move ahead into manipulation. Right now the problem is my page loads. Initially it is hello, but my JavaScript is also running as soon as my page loads, right? My page loads, it initiates hello, but my JS is also running as soon as the page loads. So this code executes. And because of that, that hello is changed into new text on the spot. And I cannot see hello. See? Only if my page is slow or my browser is slow, I can see the hello. Otherwise, I cannot see it. Because my page loads, it initiates with hello, but as soon as my JS runs, it changes to new text and I cannot see it. So what can I do for it? So what can I do is I can create other logic. For example, I can create a button, let's say. Okay. What if I want to do this? That only if someone clicks on this button, then change it. That means I want to perform some interaction. Okay. So guys, the next topic that we are learning is what you call as event handling. Okay. Before we move ahead, guys, what exactly is event handling? Okay. Before we move ahead, let's talk about that. So first of all, what exactly is event? So now, guys, you go on websites, right? You go on websites like Amazon, Flipkart, correct? So when you go on websites, okay, whatever interactions you perform, like click, or hover, like this, focus, go inside the input field, click, whatever you do with your keyboard and mouse on the website, that is basically what is an interaction, or that is also called as events. So when you type something or when you click or hover or move or do whatever you want, that is what you call as event. Those are considered as events happening on the website. You click, you're performing an event. You again click, you're performing an event. Let's go to some other site. Let's say apple.com. I hope they have some hover effects. आज फ्लिपकार्ट, हाँ आज मैंने सोच लिया आप थोड़े दिन के लिए फ्लिपकार्ट बंद. Okay, now see guys, when I hover on it, the color changes. So when you hover, that's also an event. So whatever interactions you perform using your mouse and your keyboard, when you type, all that stuff is an interaction, and that is what you call as an event. The interactions that you perform on the website is considered as events. But you can see here, when you perform the interaction, something is happening. When I click, something is happening. That means when you perform that event, something is happening in the background. Correct? So first thing is we now know what exactly is an event. The interaction that you perform on the website is event. But what if based on that event, I want to do something? How can I do that? Okay. So again, guys, the interaction that you perform is called as event, where you're performing the element, like right now this button, see, I'm performing it here. That button can be considered as an event handler. Okay, that is what you call as an event handler. So see, when I click on it, I'm performing an event. That click is the event, and where I'm clicking, that basically is my event handler. Okay, and what is happening based on that, that means somewhere like somewhere a code is written, right? Somewhere something or some code might be written that is performing this slide, right? So wherever that code is, that code can be considered as an event listener, because when you click on that button, that code understands that now I have to work, and it works and slides this. So I perform event on the event handler, okay, that is attached to some function, and function knows that whenever this event is performed, I need to move, I need to call this particular code, and that code moves this thing like this. So that's what it is. Yes, Suyesh, that's completely possible. I'm going to show you how to do that. So guys, let's do that. Okay, everyone, let's do it. Let's do it. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll create a function. Let's go. Create a function, because we know, right? What is a function, everyone? Function is nothing but a block of code, right? And second thing, it never executes automatically. You have to call it. So function, so that means if I want a code to not execute by default, I can put it inside a function. So I create a function, and I, let's say, call it anything like do something. And for now, let's say a very important code is inside there, that is console.log I am event. Now you can see this I am event is not getting printed because it is inside a function. This will only get printed if you call this function somewhere. That's what we have learned, I think, on the second day. This code will only execute if you call this function. Correct? So I can call it here only. But if I call it here, see the problem? Correct? If I call it here, it will automatically be called. I don't want it. I want to, let's say, call this function only when this button is clicked. So how can I attach it? How can I tell this function that you have to work when someone clicks on this button? For that, guys, let's go to that button, and the button has an attribute called as on click. This on click can be considered as the event handler, and then just mention the function. So whenever someone clicks on you, button, whenever someone clicks on you, please call this function, do something, and that's it. So now I have a function, do something, which is having some code. And I say this button that whenever someone clicks on you, I'm to mention that you have to use this on click attribute. Whenever someone clicks on you, we have to call this do something function. So whenever someone clicks, this function will be called. That means this code will be executed and this will be printed. Let's test it. Save it. Click, and here we go. See that, guys? Our event is getting printed. That's it. So now this button is the event handler. You are clicking, so you're performing an event. And in this case, this function is the event listener because it is attached to that event, right? Whenever you click, this will be called. Whenever you click, this will be called. So it knows that I have to get called on the click. So I am the listener of the event. I listen. When you click, I get called. So listener. Correct, everyone? So not complicated at all. Very simple understanding. What you perform is the event. Where you perform is the handler. And this function that is getting called behind the scenes is the listener. And as I said, you can execute whatever code you want. So now what I can do is instead of this console.log, I can put this code in here. Correct. Okay, guys, everyone. So now that code also will not be executed on the spot. Now you can see there is only hello here because the text or the code that was changing it to new text is not executed because now it's inside the function, and this function will only be called when I click on the button. So let's see now, and here we go. See that, everyone? Guys, simple. I know, Ghost Gamer. I know, but for a lot of people, I think it's something new, right? And I know we just had a JS Essential a week back, so I know it's kind of like the same thing again, but it's for all the new people so that they can also learn something new. Okay, and yes, guys, I would also suggest to all the new people that are joining this JS, also watch the previous JS Essentials project. We made a really cool music player there, so you can also watch it and see what we have made. Okay, everyone, are we clear with this basic event? Okay, can we move ahead now? Because inner text is not all. Now we have to learn a lot of new things. So let's go, everyone. Let's go. So now let's say I have a div. Okay, give it a class of, let's say, let's call it container. Let's apply some CSS to it. So file dot container width of 100, let's say 300 pixel, or 200 is enough, I think. 200 pixel, height of 200 pixel, background color of yellow. Save it. Here we go. You can see a div, right, everyone? A simple yellow div now. Okay, and I think it's not visible because of my face here. So let me just move it up a little. So let me just put these h1s below the div. Okay, cool. So here we go, a div and a simple button. How it works, listen, yes, I'll show you that as well, don't worry. That's basically a different method of attaching events. So guys, let's go. Now you tell me, let's comment this code. Everyone, how will I select that div? I want to target this div. How will I select it? I can use its class name, correct? So I can just go here and mention document dot query selector, and then it's a class. So dot container. Now let's put some content in it. Let's put some textual content. So for that, let's go and write inner text equals, let's say, welcome. Okay, now let's see if this is working. Now this should be perfectly working. So let's just confirm it. What? Here we go. You can see now here's welcome. Now, what if I also want to put some HTML in there? What if I also want to put some HTML there, right? So let's follow just one's comment. Let's put meow in there. So let's say I try to put something like this in h1 and meow and one more h1. Okay, so I'm now trying to put a h1 tag using my inner text property. Let's see if it is going. Save it, click, and here we go. But you can see h1 is coming like a text. It is not getting treated like an h1. And that's what inner text is, guys. Inner text treats everything like a text. It never understands the difference between the tag and the text. And that's where something called as inner HTML comes. It's kind of like inner text only, but it understands the difference between text and tag. And now you will see, here we go. It's a bold meow that just one suggested. Okay, and here we go. You can see now H1 is working and it's bold. Is it clear, everyone? So everyone asking about the difference between inner text and inner HTML, this is the difference. Okay, cool. So inner text, only textual content. Textual. Inner HTML, it understands the difference between textual content and tags. You can also use inner HTML for normal text because it understands the difference. Cool, everyone? So that was about content. Okay, that's how you can work with content inside a tag. Now, we are not only going to manipulate content, right? We need to do a lot of stuff, right? For example, we also want to see how to change the CSS of this element, right? How to change the CSS of this element. Please change the color of the div with selector. Yes, we'll do that now. So we also need to see how to manipulate the CSS of this element. Can I do that? Let's see. So now again, guys, first rule. What is the first rule? Target the element. Same thing. So again, first of all, select. No matter what you're planning to do, select the element. So document dot query selector again dot container. So I got the element. Now what do you want to do? If you want to change content, inner text, inner HTML, two options. If you want to change styling anytime, no matter which style, if you want to work with CSS, you always have to do dot style and then dot any CSS property that you want to update. For example, let's say I want to change background color. So I can write background hyphen color, any CSS property, whatever you want. But guys, one important thing is you cannot write the properties the way you write it in CSS, because here it's understandable. But here hyphen is considered as minus. It's an operator here. So that's why the properties cannot be written like this. That's why the properties are same, but you have to write them in camel case fashion. So starting with smaller, but every other word now will start with caps like this. So it's the same property, but you have to write it like this because hyphen is considered as an operator. You cannot use that. And not also underscore. This is how you have to write camel casing. So background color equals whatever you want. So let's say red. So now if someone calls this, clicks on this button, this function is called, and it will change the background color to red. Let's see if it is working, guys. Here we go. See that how simple it was? So now whenever I click on that button, it simply changes it to red. That's how you work, everyone. Really simple. Now let's also put some content. Let me show you a few more stuff. Let's say I put some content here. Okay, let's say welcome again. Here we go. Let's say I want to make it, I want to change the font size. Can I do it? Of course, because font size is also a CSS property. So again, select the element. Yes, that's how you can do, Manish. So just select the element. This is one way of doing it. Container dot style dot font size. So guys, what is important is that dot style. After dot style, do whatever you want. So equals, let's say, sorry, it's font size. So sorry. So let's say 50 pixels, right? That's it. Let's see. Now color should be red and text should be 50 pixels. Let's see that. Here we go. See that, everyone? Color becomes red and text becomes 50 pixel. And just like that, I can change width, I can change height, I can change border radius, I can give shadow. Whatever you can do in CSS, you can manipulate via this. Whatever you do with CSS, you can manipulate via this. Is that clear? For example, let's say margin left 200, or let's just say 100 pixels for now. See now? See, it moved, but there was no animation. So for that, we can just go in CSS and we can say it should have a transition of 0.3 seconds, so that if there are any changes, it should take 0.3 seconds. Now we'll see that, everyone. This is a kind of logic that is might be getting used here. Kind of. What we are doing here right now, this is just the extension of it. Some more logic, some more code, and this thing can easily be made. Just some more logic. That's it. This thing can easily be made based on that. Is it clear, everyone? Guys, very simple. Okay, so that's, those are few things you can do, but it's completely on your imagination. Whatever you can think of, you can do it. Okay, now a lot of people are asking, sir, how to work with events, like more events. So let me show you, and I'll also teach you that event listener now. So for example, let's say what can I do? when I go on this element, I want to increase its width. Okay. When I go on this element, I want to increase its width. Let's just say I want to do that. So that's a different event. On this button, I have a click event. Let's say when I go on this element, only my mouse goes on this element and I want to increase its width. So that's a different event. So how can I do that? So first of all, create a function, because that's where you write, right? You need to create a listener. So let's call it function change on. Guys, you can give whatever name you want. I'm just giving some names that I can think of. So let's call it change on move. Now guys, what I wanted to do, I wanted to change this element's width. So first thing, which element I want to work with? The yellow element. So let's go. Document dot query selector, selected based on the class name. So dot container. What do you want to do? I want to change its width. So dot change style dot width equals whatever you want. So let's say 500 pixel, which is basically too much, but that's fine for now. Let me just also zoom it out. Now I need to call this function whenever I keep my mouse on this yellow element. Whenever I move my mouse on this, I need to call this function. So that's a different event. It's not click. And guys, where do you want to perform your event? Again, think, where do you want to perform your event? On this button or on this yellow element? When I move my mouse on this element, that means I want to perform on the yellow element. So you also have to decide where are you performing your event. So I'm performing on this yellow element, which is basically my div. I'll go to that div and I'll do on mouse enter. That means whenever my mouse enters in your area, you have to call this function change on move. And let's see if it is working now. See that? See that, guys? Whenever I move my mouse in here, Utpal is asking what's the difference between mouse enter and hover. That's a really good doubt. Now, guys, focus. What happens in hover? Hover is when you move your mouse inside the area, I will change. But when you remove, I'll get back to normal. But here you can see it's not getting back to normal. See that, Utpal? That's the difference between enter and hover. Hover is like you come, I'll change. You leave, I'll just get back to normal. But in here, you can see it's not going back to normal again. Understood? I hope it's cleared. Hover basically means until and unless you are on that element. That's what hand over on that element. So I'll be simply there. Enter means as soon as you just come, I'll change. And now you don't have to be there. You can just move around here and there and I'll be just fine. Cleared? I hope. Okay. You can try. Do we have on mouse hover? I think we have something like hover, right? Over. Let's try that. If it is exactly same as hover, just want to confirm that. In this case, they are working same. This is exactly not working like hover. It's more like on mouse over. So yeah, that's fine. They are exactly same in this case. Previously, I think we used to have hover as well, on mouse hover or something like that. Now we don't have that. So if we want to achieve hover logic, we have to use on mouse enter and also on mouse leave. So on mouse leave, what do you want to do? So stuff like that. Okay. So for now, on mouse enter. Okay. Now then, let me also make you a small assignment. Just a small assignment for today, so that I can also teach you a few more events. Have you guys seen that thing, guys, where you have show password logic? You write password and you have that show password button. You click on that. You keep clicked on that. It shows you the password. You leave that, password is again normal. You want to see that? Everyone, how to make that? You will also learn few more events in there. But I'm really hoping that you guys are understanding what exactly DOM manipulation is, right? How to get it back? I'll show you. Fine, I'll at least show you that. So for that, Abhishek, what you have to do is create one more event. I'm just showing you the simplest way of it, but there are multiple ways. Create one more event. Let's call it reset, or let's just call it change reset, and make it back to normal. Again, back to 200. So there is one function which makes the width 500, and there is one function which makes the width 200. So let's call this function now. And it will be a different event now. It will be a different event. So one event is enter. On enter, you're making it big. And on leave, you want to make it 200 back. So let's just call it on mouse leave. That's the opposite of on mouse enter. Call this also, yeah, call this change reset, and that's it. So when it enters, I'm calling this function. When you leave, I'll call this function. So now see, when I enter 500, when I leave 200, 500, 200. So now it's like we made a hover. Now I know that we can also do it with CSS, but just imagine how more you can do with this now, because not everything is possible using CSS. Okay, everyone. So that's how it is. Simple. Okay, now let me teach you that as well. That's tough, right? Show password, hide password. Let's do that quickly, everyone. So let me just go here and create a button. So first of all, input tag. So simple input, and type of this will be password. There we go. See that? And yeah, just put a placeholder of enter password. Cool. You can see that when I type something in it, it's a simple password field. Now, on the side of it, I also want one button. Now, guys, see, normally in sites you have an I button or something good looking. You can create that. That's simple HTML and CSS. And again, guys, I'm telling for all the people who don't know a lot of designing and wants to learn HTML, here I'm literally doing the worst design possible. But our main focus here is JS, right? If you want to learn designing and how to style things, please watch my HTML and CSS essentials that I took in the last week only. You'll understand a lot about designing. Not everything, because this was also a 5-day course, but a lot, quite a lot. We also made a portfolio project where we created a really good design. Okay. So now, guys, let's move ahead. I'm not focusing on designing, so I'll just create a dummy button of show password. You can also put an eye icon inside this or whatever you'd like, guys. You can just put it here. Okay, totally up to you. Okay, let me just put it so that all the new people also can connect to it. Okay, so let me just put an IPNG icon. I don't want anyone to just think, oh, I didn't do it or I didn't understand it. So let's just take an eye icon. Okay, let me just take it link and let me just put it inside the button. So image tag inside the button. And width of 50 pixel or 30 pixel. And here we go. See that, guys? Okay, quite big. It is quite big. Okay, so let's just make it 10 pixel. Okay, simple, everyone. Now I'm not doing more styling. Okay, otherwise we'll use a lot of time in styling only. But you can also make it white, connect it to the input button, make it look good. Okay, so yeah, you can also put it inside. Actually, we never put it inside. We make it so that it looks like it's inside, but it's never inside. But again, guys, fine, let's move ahead. So now what I want is when I type something, it's password. When I click on this button and when I keep it clicked, not only clicked, when I press and I keep the mouse pressed, that password should be visible. And when I leave it, that password again should be, what do you say, normal, like encrypted, dot, dot, dot. So how to do it? Let's do that. And I'm also going to show you one more thing, guys. Don't worry. I have a lot of things for you today. Okay. So again, let's go and create few functions, everyone. So the first function I need here is function show password. And again, let's give a class to that input element, everyone, because I want to manipulate that, right? We want to manipulate this input element. Again, guys, mantra of DOM manipulation, target the element, select the element that you want to work with. So I want to work with this input element. I need to target it. So to target it, first of all, I need to select it. And to select it, I either have to give it a class or ID or tag name. So I personally like classes. So let me give it a class of PASS, pass. Okay. Now, by this class name, I can select this element. So let's do that. So document dot query selector pass. Okay. Now you have got it. Now understand why that field, everyone, why that field is a password field, because of this type password. If this type was text, It will be a text field. If this type was text, it will be a text field. Why that field is a password field? Because of the type password. So if by any way I was able to manipulate this attribute, it will be amazing, right? So now guys, we're learning the third thing, how to manipulate attribute of anything, because now we know how to change content. Now we know how to change CSS, but now we are learning how to change attribute like this, placeholder, type, src, all that. So to manipulate attribute of any element, first again select the element, then dot, you can call set attribute function, and now mention which attribute do you want to work with. Okay, I want to work with the type attribute. Okay, then what do you want with the value? So initially it's type password, make it type text please. That's how it goes. Dot set attribute, I want to manipulate the type attribute and I want to change it to text. So first mention the attribute, second mention the value. So again guys, focus. Just understand why this input field is a password field, because of this type password. If the type was text, it will be a normal text field. That means if by using JavaScript, I was able to change its type to text from password, it will become a text field, right? So that's what I want. And for that, I need to manipulate this attribute of this input element. So that's what I'm doing. And to manipulate attribute, select the element and then dot set attribute. Which attribute do you want to change? I want to change the type attribute. To what? To text. And that's it. Now then, let's go and call this function. Understood guys how to manipulate attribute? You simply have a function called as dot set attribute. That's it. You can now select any element and change its any of the attribute. You can select this h1 element, change its id attribute. You can select this button element, change its on click attribute. You can select this div element, change its class attribute. You can select this image element, change its src. You can select this input, change its type, placeholder, whatever you want. Okay, so now then, let's go. Let's call this function show password on that button. And now on that button, I don't want to call it on click. I want to call it on mouse down. That means if someone presses and keeps it pressed. Kulkarni Kalpesh is asking how many functions are there? It's up to us, right? I am creating all these functions. I am giving them names. I can create n number of functions. I can create thousands of functions, Kalpesh. If you're asking about these functions, these are my functions. They are not inbuilt. Okay, so I can create n number of, there's no fixed limit. These are my functions. I'm creating them. User defined functions. So guys, on mouse down, call the function show password. What if the attribute don't have any value like active, required? They actually have value. We never mention it because by default they are true, Manish. So if you want to change them, you have to make them false or true. So whatever attributes don't have any value, they basically have true and false. We never put it because it's by default true. Correct? So if you ever want to change it, you have to make it true or false. Is it clear, Manish? So they actually have values, true and false. It's just we never mention it. So if you do required or required true, they are same. Got it? So now guys, let's see everyone. When I type, see that? It's password. Now when I go on that button and I press my mouse, some issue is there. Cannot read set attribute. What's happening? Am I doing some mistake here? Oh, I forgot to mention dot here. Sorry guys. It's a class, right? I forgot to mention dot. Okay, now then let's go. I think someone was hinting that. Thank you so much day to day. I actually didn't see that. Thank you so much. How many built-in? Okay, if Kalpesh is asking how many built-in functions are there, then even I don't know it. I use quite a lot of inbuilt functions, but I don't know what is exactly the limit, Kalpesh, if that is the question. Even I don't know how many functions are there. But there are a lot of them. Okay, so now guys, let's move ahead and let me just write some password. And now when I go on this button and I press it, see that? And I'm keeping it pressed, guys. See that? It's visible. But when I leave it, it's not going back. That's bad, right? I want it to go back. When I leave it, I want it to go back. So let's do that as well. So for that, you can create one more function. Now, guys, this is not the best way of doing it. There is also, you can write if and else inside show password and make it like that. But this is the simplest way to understand. You can use it as a kickstart. So you can just make hide password and just do the opposite. Select the element and change its password, sorry, change its type back to password. And call this when you leave that button. So on mouse down, opposite is what, guys? You can think of it, right? On mouse up. Call it. And here we go. Now let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah. See now? Now if I just go, press. Awesome. I can see that. And I am keeping it pressed, guys. Trust me. I hope you trust me. I'm keeping it pressed. And when I leave, not working. I think I didn't save it. Let me just save it real quick. Is the function name correct? Am I making a mistake somewhere? Nope. So now let's confirm that again. Okay. On mouse down, on mouse up. See that? So now done. Leave, normal. And leave, back to normal. Is it cleared, guys? Everyone? Are they same as on click? No. No, senpai. Because click is what? See, understand the difference between click and down and up. Click is a combination of down and up. Click is like this. When you press and leave, that's when the click works. Press down up is completely click. This and keep it pressed, it's simply down. Leave is up. Press is down. But when you down up, that's what you call as click. Click is a combination of down and up. Okay. So click is a complete combination of down and up. Down and up are also separate events that I'm using here. So on down, I'm doing something. On up, I'm doing something else. Okay. Now, guys, one last thing for today. The last thing. I would also like to show you how to change image. Like, for example, right now, here's an eye. Okay. Let's say, let me download an image of crossed eye. Okay. I hope now you can guess, right, what I'm trying to do, everyone. Can guess it, right? Trying to find a PNG icon here. Let's take this one, just for dummy. Okay, so what I want is, by default, it should be this icon, cross eye. Cross eye. That means the password is hidden. Okay, cross eye. When I press it down, I want that eye icon to change to normal. That means it will basically hint that, okay, yeah, now it's visible. And when I leave that again, it should back to, like, it should go back to cross. Understood, guys? What I'm trying? Now, we have learned attribute manipulation. Simply, we need to change this SRC. That's all. Because that image is having this cross eye icon because of this SRC. So this is the attribute I need to work with. And this is the element I need to work with. So again, give it a class. Give it a class of I. Guys, give it a class of I. And now then, again, it is SRC. That means it's an attribute. We know how to manipulate attribute, right, everyone? In the same function of show password, also select the image element, which is having a class of I. And I want to manipulate an attribute, and the attribute that I want to manipulate is SRC. And I want to change it with this icon. Mention it. That's it. And again, if it comes back to normal, select the image element and change its SRC to the old one that is already present in there. This one. That's it. That's all. So now when someone performs show password, I change my eye icon to the normal one. And again, when the hide password is performed, I change my eye icon to different one. And now you'll see, okay, wrong page. See, guys, focus on there. Let's write some text. Focus in here. When I press, guys, can you see that icon is changed? Can you see that? Everyone. When I leave, again, did I make a mistake somewhere? I'm making so many mistakes today. And here we go. Perfect. So now let's write something. See that? Let me zoom it if you can't see it, guys. So, yep, you got it. That's how you create it. So how are you? Can you feel? Yes, yes, Akhilesh, I'm feeling better today. Yes. So everyone, this is the magic of DOM manipulation. That's why JavaScript is so very important for web development or anything on web. That's why it is considered as the language of the web, right? Because it is very important. Everything is happening based on that. This, that, all the data that is coming, it's also coming based on JavaScript. Mostly, not everywhere, but mostly. So guys, drag the file. How to do it? Day to day. Okay, I would have taught drag and drop, but the only issue is we don't have time for today because we are already crossing it. Yes. I know, but today we did a lot of DOM manipulation. So we'll try to do all this together. Okay, everyone. So understanding why JS is so very important. First of all the programming support. Second thing, the most important is DOM manipulation. And now, as JS is also outside the browser, you can understand, right, how much it can do other than DOM manipulation. Kalpesh, if you want to see, what do you say, the JS curriculum, you can, guys, everyone, actually, if you want to see what we teach and all the curriculum, and if you are interested in joining the full stack course, as you know, this is only a 5-day course and we don't do a lot of things here, but we still do a lot of cool things here. I'm not going to say that we don't do any cool stuff. So if you want to do, like, learn a lot of things and learn everything like HTML, CSS, JS, Node.js, React, Angular from scratch by building 15 plus projects, which in which some of them are Netflix clone and Instagram clone, you can go to LetsUpgrade.in and you can simply check our programs. So see, this is the full stack web development program. And here you can just go ahead and see the curriculum, guys. What do we teach? Completely, you can see it here. See all of it. So you can check it out here, everyone. Okay, and it's only like half of the things are mentioned. You can also download and see how many things we teach. Okay, everyone. So if you're interested, please go ahead and check the course out. And these are all the technologies that we teach. Okay, so I'll be there, and a lot of other trainers like me also will be there for teaching you. Okay, you can see the fees here also as well on the spot. And if you use the code SG10, you will get on the spot discount of 10%. So if you're interested, you can check it out. Otherwise, you can also keep enjoying the essentials. It's completely fine. But if you're interested, please check it out. And guys, don't forget to use the code SG10 to get 10% instant discount. 10% on the spot. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. We learned quite a lot of things today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the session. I hope you guys learned a lot of things. Now, let me also announce the quiz winner from yesterday, from the last session. So let me do that quickly. And yep, here we go. Dipankar Debnath, congratulations for winning 500 rupees Amazon coupon. And Sanskruti, congratulations to you as well to get 150 LU coins. And also Shubham Verma, congrats to you as well, buddy, for getting 100 LU coins. So congratulations to all three of you. And guys, also, if you want to participate in the quiz, just go in the description of the video. There's a one link. Click on that, register for the course. And also, you can see all your assignments there. Plus, you can join. There will be a Telegram group link there. Just click on it, join, so that you can also participate in quiz and be part of all the discussions that we do there. Okay. So, yep, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The next session will be a project session. See you there. I'll see all of you in the next session. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye. Please let me in the chat. Did you guys enjoy the session or not? And please don't forget to like, everyone. Before leaving, please like, please subscribe if you haven't, so that we can also grow and reach to more people, so that we can also teach. Okay. So don't forget to like, guys. If you have enjoyed the session, like the session, so that again we can also grow. It makes us feel very happy. Yes, the quiz is completely free. Okay, so that's it, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye. I'll see all of you tomorrow. Okay, in the next session.